At Atlassian, we don't believe in the lone genius. We believe creativity and innovation exists in everyone. We've invested in creating a culture of innovation that's inclusive, that gives everyone a chance to have an impact. Team curiosity is our currency.
So there was this problem that we actually always developed new features and capabilities directly into our product. We saw that this was not really efficient, so we've changed the organizational structure so that we could support for cross-product efforts. If you have like a reusable component, you don't need to jump into the product and understand the product and the source code of the product. You just change this component and it's actually being changed for all the products and not just one.
For a while, we've been really wanting to solve a problem and improve the experience of sharing content in Confluence for our users. So we got the opportunity to actually tackle this in Innovation Week. And Innovation Week is where the whole team gets to actually put everything aside and only work on things that we really want to do and we really want to try and solve.
So we have this framework called Disrupt, and Disrupt is all about ideation. So what Disrupt does is basically ask you to write up all your best ideas and then throw them all away. Come up with your new batch of best ideas, throw them all away, and then do it again repeatedly. From 500 ideas, we would maybe only ship 3. But those 3 are the ones that would really matter.
So we have a concept of 20% time, which means that we spend 20% of our time on innovation. I used some of my 20% time to try out some technologies that I was interested in, like machine learning and natural language processing. We tried to extract actionable tasks from code review comments in Bitbucket. By doing it, we learned a lot about the different problems we'll have to overcome if we decide to implement something like that in the future.
When you make decisions at an organizational level, often you're trapped making like the broadest possible decisions that make sense to the most number of people. So having something like ShipIt, where individual people can pursue their individual goals, you get a lot of those out there ideas that you just wouldn't get any other way.
The ideas are often referenced after the fact, and you can see projects where they're referencing various ShipIts and saying, we like that idea, let's try it that way.
Are you going home?
Probably not. That's not a joke.
None of the code we wrote is actually going to ship. Like, that's all trashed.
That is a good thing.
Yeah. But the idea, like, we got it in front of a large portion of the company.
We've used Disrupt in our team for understanding how we can make a feature more friendly for teams. We've used it to look at viral growth methods.
Knowing that it's coming is something that definitely means that we're always in that rhythm of thinking about the next innovation week, the next ShipIt.
The company really gets behind it. It's not something that you can opt into. It's really very much an opt-out thing. Everyone gets on board, everyone's doing something.
We can't spend all our time just experimenting and trying stuff out. So using our 20% time, we can actually try out different ideas that we weren't sure would work, and the ones that do work opens a whole new avenue of ideas that we can do in the future.
Innovation is the creativity and the energy that you feel when you're challenging the status quo.
Please welcome Disco Dom.
Are you ready for some disco? You don't feel ready, so I think I need to help you get ready. And the only way to get ready is a demonstration. It's a team sport. I'm going to pick two people at random. Oh, shit, Scott and Mike. Fuck, that is really unfortunate. If you could just come on stage quickly. Just quick as you can. One of you gets a pink guitar. Who's most like to fire me? Yeah, the blue one, pink one. I want everyone in the audience to stand up. You're either going to do your air guitar, your disco dance, or your air drums. Everyone, let me get. You've got to get in the mood. This is a disco. You've got to demonstrate air guitar, but you've got a real guitar. Go. Bit more rhythm. Come on. You're playing the guitar. Get your head going. Right, you can do a dance if you want. There you go. This is the music. He's winning so far. Who's winning? Scott winning so far? The music's playing. Right, you do your air drums if... Scott's taking it to a new level. I wasn't expecting that. Come on, play your drums in the audience. Join in. Over this side for Mike. I think Mike's winning. Very AC/DC, very die, guys. That's enough. I can't watch any more of that. You may take a seat, and you may find me right now. Thank you very much, Scott and Mike. Before we start with the ShipIt proceedings, there is one more thing I want to do. This won't get me fired, but this will make someone very angry. Angie Smith. Where's Angie? She's running here, all right? We might get Angie in a minute. It's less of a surprise that she's not here. But we'll do Angie in a minute. Let's start the ShipIt Live, and we'll do Angie in a second. ShipIt Live. We've had guys and girls hacking away for the last 24 hours for you. But I want to tell you a little bit about why we do this and what we do. Angie, we've got a bit of an incident up here. Can I borrow you for a second? Come on, Ange. You're going to kill me. I know you're going to kill me. It's fine. If you could just give a round of applause if you've enjoyed your summer experience. If you could just give another round of applause, this isn't your first summit. You've been to a few, and it just gets better each time. So there's the heroes that stand on stage and tell you stories, and then there's the unsung heroes backstage. Angie and her team work tirelessly all year round. They very rarely get a round of applause from you. We often say thank you to them in the office, but we just wanted to say thank you because you're an absolute genius. We love what you do, and so does everyone here. So thank you very much to Angie. Me and Angie just drank tequila in the back room, and she made me promise not to tell anyone, so that's still a secret. So ShipIt, we do this every quarter. But it's not just the 24 hours that are important. ShipIt happens before the event, during the event, and after. And I want to tell you a little bit about why we do this and what we do, because I think it can help unleash your potential. So when I think about this, it's actually a continual cycle. The video there, when we talked about culture of innovation, that's not by accident. We do that on purpose. We purposely engender innovation in everything we do, from hiring, and when we talk about be the change you seek, to all of our habits and rituals. So what happens before? What's the build-up? Well, the first thing we do, when we talked about open, we plan our dates well in advance and let people know. We take away the friction to participate. All of our product teams know on their roadmap when we're doing ShipIt to increase their chance of taking part. And the next thing we do is we use things like Confluence to tell stories. The idea that you can engage people in why should you innovate? What's the impact you can have on customers? What itch do you want to scratch? And those stories of past winners, past losers, past disasters, all come together to encourage people to take part. And then the next thing we do is some kind of engineering version of speed dating. It's a very awkward moment when we connect people with ideas to people with skills. How do you form a team? One of the things I first realized when we did this was when people self-form teams for ShipIt, they don't work with people they normally work with. They seek out different people. We heard about cognitive diversity. We see our teams, and you'll see this today. These aren't colleagues that work together on the same teams on a daily basis. They're seeking out different opinions to challenge themselves. And I challenge you to do the same thing. Everything that we do is easy to copy, and that's why we share it. And then we get to the day, the excitement, the energy, and the countdown clock. All of our wall boards around our offices globally change to a 24-hour countdown clock, and the genuine energy and enthusiasm starts. Now, the other thing that's really important is having fun, hence the outfit, and hence the image you see here. But we also talked before about failures and celebrating failures. Now, I purchased a different outfit for today. But when I tried on the outfit at home, it didn't fit. So I bought this one instead. But with the leftover outfit, I thought, what can I do with that? Now, we've got Jeff Thomas, who's been working with our teams for the last 48 hours on this. And I pinged Jeff, and I was like, you don't mind wearing the outfit, do you, Jeff? And Jeff was like, no, it's absolutely cool. I'll wear the outfit. I just didn't tell him what it was. So do you mind welcoming Jeff on stage, please? Jeff is a unicorn. The whole story was going to be that you're unicorns, we're a unicorn, we all get to innovate and celebrate great ideas. I spent a good hour trying by myself to get in this outfit. It was not pretty. It says one size fits all. I've contacted them, it's now one size fits most. But Jeff does this in our Austin office. And the important thing here is, whilst we have fun with this, we do it differently in every location. So if you're in a global team, distributed team, you've got different cultures and customs, don't use it as a barrier to not innovate. Use it as a reason to be more like Jeff. Dress up, have some fun, and get people engaged. Jeff, thank you very much. As well as having fun, we also like to energize our people. Sometimes it's water, sometimes it's beer, sweets, pizza. But to get that energy going, because innovation's scrappy, it's messy, it's difficult. You know there's a high chance that it's not going to work. And we want to get that energy there and genuinely have some fun, and we celebrate it. People of all levels, backgrounds, people who are brand new, people who have been with us forever, take part. Then you get the competitive side. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute Atlassians are competitive. I mean, Scott and Mike aren't, so there's no reason that we would be either. But when it comes to ShipIt, very, very competitive. And they all get to the end of those 24 hours. It's 3 minutes. It's 3 minutes to pitch your idea to your peers. There's no harder voting than your colleagues listening and watching what you do and voting for it. But again, the energy in our offices all around the world, from Bangalore, our latest office, to Sydney, our spiritual home, you see these ideas being generated. Now, we're a global company, so we celebrate the winners. We celebrate the people that didn't win. One of our hacks recently was the Titanic room. Great ideas that sank on their first voyage. And I sat in on the Titanic room because those ideas were still worth pursuing. It's just the way we tried to do them hadn't worked. And so there's no such thing as a bad idea. It's just about celebrating what you can learn from genuinely experimenting and exploring for 24 hours. And then we use tools like Confluence to blog. We tell those stories again. What did I try? What problem had I fallen in love with? What customer issue had I researched? And we do that storytelling because that starts the feed for the next round, for the next innovation. Now, one innovative thing we're doing for this ShipIt is it's sponsored by the guys from Automation for Jira. You would have seen on your chairs a little bit of paper. And what those guys are doing, they are innovating, and they've said, if you go onto that URL and donate money to Room to Read, they will match every dollar or cent or pound that you donate up to $10,000 because they want to open a library. So when Scott talked the other day about education and 10 million children and having a genuine impact, the guys from Automation for Jira are going to match any donation you make today, and they want to open 2 libraries in India because they want to impact innovation. It's not just what we do in our world, it's the impact we can have on others. Now, sometimes the wonderful ideas we create end up on roadmaps. Other times, you'll be glad that they don't end up on roadmaps. But either way, you actually get a chance to impact this today. Because with your votes, you're going to tell us what you're curious about, what you'd pay for, what you're interested in, what problems you're having. And so sometimes these things, it's not just a ritual of celebration of innovation. It's us exploring what might we do, what could be possible, and how can we genuinely delight you every single day. So we have 4 teams today. We had hundreds of teams enter across the Atlassian universe. There's 4 that have joined us today. They've spent the last 24 hours hacking, and I promise you that they are nervous as hell about presenting them to you. This is the biggest audience they've presented. So be gentle, encourage them, and join me in welcoming the first team on stage, Bamboo Pipelines and Alice.
Oh, sorry. Well, thank you so much for joining us today for the conclusion of ShipIt Live. My name is Alice Noland, and I'm here to present to you Bamboo Pipelines. Toyota did something interesting when they built the Prius. When you turn the car off, it goes into the parking gear if it's not already, which is a nice safety feature. But not only that, but it makes sense for what the user expects, for what the driver expects. Similarly, continuous integration and continuous deployment tools are meant to make our lives easier. They're meant to help us ship better quality code faster. Instead, engineers work with build tests and deployment models that support their team, but they have to make the tools fit what they need. They're not really working with something flexible. In the development world, pipelines refers to what happens once code leaves a developer's laptop. And once a code leaves a developer's laptop and they test it, they typically want to deploy it. So we were inspired to unify the experience of creating build tests and build plans and deployment plans and helping that reflect how developers want to work. With our ShipIt project, Bamboo Pipelines, not only can your development teams deliver code more efficiently, but they can build their delivery process to reflect their mental model. Whether that's a simple decision tree when the test suite fails, or if that's a little more complex, Bamboo Pipelines makes it possible. So let's take a look at what happens in action. So we're going to kick off from our configuration is called build plan, called Bamboo Specs. And once we do that, we can see a little bit of code running here, and then we're going to jump into Bamboo. And give us a moment. It takes a really long time to scroll across these projector screens, which you can laugh at. So pipelines exist within the UI, second tab. And so now we can see the entire step process that you can go through for this particular deployment model. We can see that we expect all Jira issues to be closed, which means all the code has been merged. And we're going to do a conditional check to see that that occurred. So you can see this process running, and there's a conditional failed. Means not all the Jira issues were closed. What happens now? Normally, that would mean I would have to manually kick off the next step, and then manually kick off another step. Instead, we're able to notify the release manager, and they're able to come back, manually say, yes, this worked. I wanted that to happen, and everything else happens as soon as they click that button. And so instead of this being multiple steps, multiple people, now everything's done, and it's out, it's deployed, and we can party instead of whatever that is. And you know what? That's it. So from the entire Bamboo Pipelines team, thank you. And if you're still not convinced, hold the applause. Thank you so much, but hold the applause. If you're still not convinced, there's most likely a developer within 10 meters of you, so chat with them. But please vote for the red team. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alice. Awesome. For the server customers in the room, great to see continuous deployment. Great to see us going back to our roots of caring so much for developers. That team have worked tirelessly in the last 48 hours, so congratulations to them. Now, some people, when they take on a ShipIt, dream of customer pain, they dream of what's possible, and then we've got a guy called Sharif. Has anyone here met Sharif, one of our product managers? Awesome. Sharif uses ShipIt to do his day job. So he doesn't do anything during the week. He doesn't do anything for about 90 days. And then he gets to ShipIt, he gets all excited, celebrates his work in front of everyone. And today he's got an idea with some of his teammates that I think is going to really excite you. So please join me in welcoming the guy who's come second in more ShipIts than anyone else, Sharif. Actually, sorry, no. We celebrate failures. He's not up next. I blame Angie and the tequila. Now she's not here, I can blame her. This actual person that's up next has won one ShipIt from one attempt. And he's actually quite confident that he might be 2 from 2. So please join and welcome one of our newest team members, Customer Interviews, and Tanmay.
Hi, I'm Tanmay, and I'm here to talk to you about customer interviews. Or should I really say customer empathy? You see, in true ShipIt fashion, we pivoted halfway through. So what is customer empathy? It's simple, really. It's one of our values. Don't fuck the customer. We think about it every day at work when we make product decisions. Yesterday in his keynote, Mike talked about how important customer empathy is to Atlassian teams. You see, empathy is more than knowing the metrics of your customers, like Net Promoter Score or Contact Index. It's about feeling what your customer feels. It goes to a deeper level, and it's so important because it's only with empathy and diversity that teams can build great products. The quickest, simplest way to connect with customers is through customer interviews. It's where you sit with your customers and listen to their stories about how they use your products. There are 3 quick stages. You recruit some customers, you find people who can conduct the interviews, and then you share those insights around your companies. This happens with the following people. So we have our customers, who for us is you. Then we connect our product managers, researchers, and designers through customer interviews with you, where we learn how to improve our products, people, products, processes, and provide you with more resources to be more successful as a team. Then, when we come back to Atlassian, we condense this down into actionable insights or how to translate it into our existing projects or work in progress. But there's a problem here. We're not directly connecting the empathy and strength of pain that customers feel with our wider teams. And it's the responsibility of the research, PM, or designer to make sure that this translates well. This is where sharing becomes difficult. And later, what happens when our development team, other product managers, or other parts of the business want to go through our customer interview and data and extract information? How can we strengthen this connection back to the original customer empathy? We perform a customer interview, we do a write-up, and we put up some contextual information. And interview after interview, customer after customer, this information piles up. And it's great information, but you just can't navigate it and you can't find what you need. In fact, you've come and told us that this is an issue at Summit. We use Confluence to document research, but it's a graveyard of useless information. So there are effectively two problems. Things are hard to find. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, looking through all the million sources of information. There's tribal knowledge. Knowledge exists in people's heads, and it's difficult or cumbersome to pull out that and extract that information. Amongst all of this, how can you get closer to the customer and have empathy? Introducing the Customer Empathy Hub, a home to easily find and determine the relevant customer interviews for you. So, we have leveraged the power of Confluence using existing functions like templates, labels, macros, and search. You don't even need to write a line of code. You could do this tonight over Big Bash beer, although I don't recommend it. We've also built some templates for customer interviews using best practices from within Atlassian. So here's the hub. Let's walk through it. So, using various filters such as theme, product, team, or whatever is relevant to you, you can see interviews organized. Other people can come and create a research project or create an interview template just by clicking that button. So let's click into discoverability. We actually conducted customer interviews at Summit to determine how customers share empathy around their company. Now this is where the magic happens. This is the page properties macro. Any template or interview created within this space will automatically appear here. We click through, you've got the interview. It's really simple. You can easily digest the information, get some insights, and understand what's going on. But let's take a look under the hood. You go into the editor. This is just a simple Confluence page. It's really not that complicated. You can go and do this tonight. So remember our two problems? Things are hard to find, and there's tribal knowledge. Now they're gone. You can find exactly what you need, and we've broken down barriers and shared customer empathy around the teams. So now developers no longer need to rely on intermediaries such as research, PM, and design to share customer empathy. They can access and feel that customer empathy themselves. In fact, you can even link insights to your Jira roadmap so developers can see exactly why you're building a feature that you thought of. So if you want to have more empathy, customer empathy using Confluence, vote for us. Thanks for having me.
Awesome work by that team. We often share stories about our values. It's one of the few companies that I've actually worked at that actually lives the values as well as shares them. They don't just exist on posters. So when Tame and team talked about customer delight, caring about the customer, and our value of don't bleep the customer, that's not something that just exists on walls. It's something we live and breathe every single day. The other thing we recently introduced, probably about a year or so ago, was the idea of the Unplugged Prize. Because we wanted to celebrate not just innovation in technology, but for anyone. We believe in innovation, that curiosity, creativity exists in everyone. So the guys and girls that worked on that aren't the most technical people, but they can still have great ideas. So thank you very much for sharing those. So you're at the halfway mark. I was trying to think of a joke, given that I used all my material on Sharif. Luckily, backstage, Sharif, being a product manager, had something up his sleeve, and he said, not only have I only won one ShipIt, but Scott's won one ShipIt, Mike's won none, which I thought was a brave thing to say out loud. I don't know if is that true? It's true. Okay, 1-0. Okay, so can you please welcome on stage the guy that might get fired before me, Sharif.
Thanks, Tom, and hello, everyone. This is Awesome Tables. Let's go back one, sorry. For our ShipIt project, we decided to solve one of your most requested issues. That's right, a lot of you in the room, you probably just saw a sneak peek, so I stuffed that one up. I will be happy to know that we have solved this issue for you. So, mate, what are you doing here, Bradley?
Are you serious?
Can you see I'm in the middle of something?
Are you really about to take credit for this? There's a reason that you've come second in more ShipIts than ever. Take a look at this issue. This was created in 2005. Weren't you a product manager on Confluence for like 8 years? What are you doing?
That's it, let's go. Stop boring these people with details, Bradley. This is details. We're in the middle of a ShipIt, mate. Let's keep going, keep going.
You're a disgrace, mate. And why would we ship spreadsheets in Confluence anyway? It could be a disaster. I've seen the way you design. If you had anything to do with it, it might end up looking like this.
What's wrong with that, mate?
There's a lot wrong with that. Why don't we start by going back to the beginning? Why don't you tell me how teams are using tables today?
All right, so coming into our ShipIt, we did a bit of research for how you use Teams, and thank you for all of you out there that came out to the ShipIt booth to share with us all your different examples for how you use tables. So you showed us examples such as things like this, where you're trying to allocate work for a team, maybe a release checklist. You can't want to know who's working on what and how many items are left. Or you shared examples for projects where you've got a decision log and you're trying to track what decisions are left so you can move your project forward. Another example a lot of you shared was communicating status for a project. And some of you might be using a way to score your projects, and you're trying to work out, on average, how is this project actually going? Do I have to do this math and add up these numbers in my mind? Or your classic example, typical numbers, a very dense table, and you're like, this is going to take a while for me to compute and understand which tests are passing and failing and which are the performant ones. Now, the one I struggle with is dates. I'm terrible with dates. So when I read a table like this, I have to do a lot of timeline juggling in my mind, trying to visualize what this table might actually look like.
I think I hear what you've learned. I think what you're saying is at one end of the spectrum, we've got basic tables like you're familiar with today. The other end of the spectrum, you've got the complexity of spreadsheets. So for our ShipIt, we tried to find that perfect sweet spot right here. There was 3 things we tried to look at. First, we think we can add more structure to tables to make it easier to fill them out and visualize your data. Next, we think summarizing your data can be way easier than it is today to help you get to that conclusion a lot faster. And lastly, we set ourselves the challenge of thinking about different ways we could visualize the information in a table, because sometimes pictures are better than words. So let me show you what we've done. Now, this is ShipIt, and there is time limits on my presentation, so we've had to speed these demos up a little bit, so watch carefully. So the first thing we've done is we've introduced column types, so that you can tell us a little bit more about the information that you're going to add to each column of a table. In this example here, I've used the column type person to really quickly use the mention picker to add an owner to each of the items in this release checklist. Next, I'm going to add the column type checkbox, making it really easy for me to mark which of these items have been completed and which haven't. The next thing we've built is the summary row. So you'll see here, if I turn the summary on for this table, I can see how many objects are still remaining and who owns those.
Now, what about that decision log example? You're trying to track all the decisions left for a particular project. We can add a column of type person to work out who's responsible for that decision, and a column of type decision. And this helps us track which decisions are open and which decisions are closed. So when we fill this out and add that cool summary row feature that Bradley shared with you earlier, you now understand who's responsible for what decision and how many decisions are left for your project so you can move that project forward.
Now this one I think is pretty cool. If you're using a project tracking system like objects and key results, we've added the column type of slider. Here, I'm able to get a nice visual and interactive way to score each of my company's objectives and key results. And we've even built in a nice little touch that when you move your score to 0.7, it changes to green so you can see which ones are on track and which ones are lagging. And then again, here, I've added a summary row, but this time you can see I've changed from total to average, so I can see how my whole company is tracking on your objectives.
Now, sliders are cool, Bradley, but you know what's even more cooler? Emoji. I hear all the cool kids are using it. So you can add a column of type emoji, put checkboxes, ticks, and crosses, a nice visual way to communicate the table. But when we add the summary row here, we get a count of all the unique emoji. You can play with the formulas and do some averages and totals. And what's even cooler is charts. So you can visualize the table as a pie chart, or if you want, as a bar chart. And just to show you, this is not all smoke and mirrors. We can go back, change some values, and then we'll come back to our charts, and you'll see it works.
So in this example here, we're back on that project timeline. So we're doing our quarterly planning. This time we're using the column type of date. So here I'm easily able to assign a start date and an end date for each row of this project. No more worrying about having to manually fill out dates, remember which date the Monday is, which date the Friday is. But we didn't stop there. We think there's better ways to display the timelines and dates. And so I'm really happy that the guys were able to pull this one off. So you can change the view of this table to a timeline. So we've built this all with We've built this.
We're out of time now, Bradley. We got to go.
This is all built with Canvas, so you can zoom, pan, drag, and drop, and you would have noticed that as I drag to adjust the start and end dates of each row, the dates are live updated in that table, meaning I can swap my view back at any time.
So you're probably thinking a lot of this is in Confluence. But if you came to the Cloud State of the Union, we're working on a cross-product editor coming to both Jira and Confluence. So there's cool things like sliders, could also end up in Jira, or those pretty awesome tables with charts could end up in Jira as well.
So what are awesome tables? 3 things. First, empowering teams to structure content through column types. Second, simplifying the consumption of tabular data with summary rows. And last, more powerful ways to visualize the information in a table with live charts and timelines. Now, I think these tables are pretty awesome. Sharif thinks they're pretty awesome. But the founders, Mike and Scott, are in the front row here, and I need you to vote for us to convince them that we should ship this to you. Thank you.
Absolutely awesome. One of those ShipIts that I looked at when they did the demo before, and I was like, I could actually use that. I can imagine like a million use cases where that could help me. And when I thought about open before and around displaying information, sharing that kind of data early, really good way of showing in Jira and Confluence how you can share data early, get opinions back and start the conversation. So thank you to the guys for doing a mini keynote there. Now, lastest but not leastest, our final presentation today. Can you please welcome on stage Joe and Notifications?
Hey guys, I'm Joe, and I'm here today representing Notifications++. We've all experienced this at one point or another. Someone on your team makes a few changes to Jira, and you're left on the other end with a flood of email notifications. We like to refer to this as Jira's email hug of death. In fact, we found that one of the highest voted tickets was about this very issue, reducing Jira email chattiness. This has over 1,000 votes and almost 500 watches. So it's something that we wanted to explore with our ShipIt. We started by talking to some users and asking which notifications they'd like to receive and which they wouldn't. And we found some interesting things. Namely, notifications are very personal, and therefore, there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution for everyone. We talked to Alice, a developer at a company making cool new games. Now, Alice only wanted to be notified when important things happened to her. These were things such as issues being assigned to her and new comments being made. When we talked to Ben, however, the engineering manager on her team, we found that he had very different needs to Alice. Now, Ben was looking to be updated about most of the things of his team so that he could have a bird's eye view and wanted to know when issues were created, reassigned, transitioned, and more. So how did we go about fixing this? We added notification settings for Jira. Now, directly in the notifications drawer, you can access the newly created settings tab in the top right-hand corner, and you're presented with a number of different options. First, you're able to customize the types of Jira notifications that you want to receive. Here, we looked at the data of the most frequently used Jira notification types and added the ability for you to select which ones that you want to get and deselect the ones that you don't. So now Alice can be notified of her new assigns and comments, but can uncheck everything else. And when Alice goes back to our notifications tab, we can see here that she only gets notified of comments and assigns. Now this also flows through for her email notifications. As you can see, previously, Alice had all sorts of Jira notifications being sent to her, including a lot of Jira update emails. And after adjusting her settings, she only receives notifications around assigns and comments. Now, while talking to Alice and Ben, we also discovered that different people have different preferences in where they'd like to receive a notification. Now, Alice always had a Jira tab open somewhere in her browser, so she only wanted to get notified about updates from the in-app notifications drawer. Ben, on the other hand, was in many meetings throughout the day, so he preferred to get both in-app and email notifications, depending on where he was. So we added the ability to choose which channel you'd like to receive a notification. Now, Alice can stop receiving emails and only get notifications in-app. We didn't stop here. While we were talking to Ben, we realized that as an engineering manager, he creates a lot of issues at the start of a project, but doesn't really want to get updated on the status of all of the issues at any one time. Now, to stop receiving notifications from an issue, Ben currently has to go to every single notification and click individually to stop watching them. As you can see, this is a pretty tedious project. He has to go to each notification, click through, wait for the issue to load, and then stop watching. So we thought we could do one better, and to solve this, we added the ability to unwatch an issue directly from a notification itself. So the next time that Ben gets a notification from an issue that he no longer cares about, let's say this first one here, AN16, he can stop following it directly from the notification. Now you can see when he reopens the drawer, the notifications regarding that issue, AN16, no longer show up. And again, this flows on to apply to his email settings. So we'll stop receiving emails for this issue. So to summarize, what did we do? First, we added the ability for you to customize what types of notifications that you want to get from Jira. You're also able to choose where you'd like to receive these types, be that email or in-app. And my personal favorite, with the introduction of inline unwatch, you can quickly stop receiving notifications for issues that you're no longer interested in. So if you want to stop feeling Jira's email hug of death, and instead you want to feel Jira's email hug of love, then vote for Notifications++. Thank you.
Thank you to Joe and Notifications++. I hope you get from that when our teams go to innovate, they genuinely try and think of you in your environment with your customers and your sort of colleagues and what you're going through. Can you please join me in welcoming all four teams back on stage? We have Bamboo Pipelines. We have customer interviews. We have awesome tables and Notifications++. Get your phones out. Go.atlassian.com/vote. You have one vote to cast, one only. Cast it wisely. You're going to create someone's dream. It's a hard choice. We had some favorites before, but we're fascinated to see how you vote. What have you gone for, Billy? What do you go for? They're my favorite, yeah. Okay, we're going to close the voting in a few seconds. Still vote. All right, Scott's still voting. Internet. Just go Atlassian.com. Just carry on voting. I'm going to play the air guitar with a microphone. Is it working? Working? Yeah, awesome. You voting? Yeah, it's just Patrick not voting. Okay, we'll close the voting in a few seconds. If the technology doesn't work, we're just going to do it via hand. And I'll have to guess how many people have got what hands up. So we'll close the voting in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2 and a bit, 2 and 1, and we are locking voting. Thank you very much for casting your votes. And that's the end. Oh no, you want to know who won? Okay, we're going to do the countdown. We'll get the screen up, and we will do 3 and 2 and 1. Just as soon as the screen comes up. Okay, there is a tie on second place. Oh, in joint second. Can I get a drum roll? Bounce your feet, clap your hands, make some Summit Europe noise. In joint second, taking home several medals is Bamboo Pipelines and don't forget plus and Awesome Tables is the winner. We did not have a joint second place. I think you may have voted very strongly there. A massive congratulations to customer interviews, Bamboo Pipelines, Notifications Plus, and our winners, Sharif, finally, Bradley, and team, congratulations. You're our winners. Can you give them a massive round of applause? They have worked night and day for the last 48 hours to bring this to you. Can you also keep the round of applause? Molly, Jeff, and team for running ShipIt Live for everyone. Oh, sorry. Get out of the way. Now, just before we wrap up, don't forget your badge for Bash, your wristband. You need that to get in. Second thing, don't forget that in April, we're going to come to you in Vegas. Bring your friends, your family, your colleagues. We want to see more from you and hear more from you. And finally, thank you from me to Scott and Mike for letting us not only entertain you, but do things like ShipIt, where we get to innovate for you every single day, and we have the freedom to experiment and explore. So carry on being awesome. Have a great night tonight, and we'll see you in Vegas in April. Thank you.